Greetings, everybody, and welcome to the Gauntlet. I am your
Hi
host, David
there.
Preuss, and here is Grandmaster Georg Meier.
Happy to be here, David.
Welcome, Georg. You've already seen this show before, so you know what you're in for.
Yeah, I was watching the whole episode where Priyadarshan was trying his luck, and yeah, I found it so fascinating that basically I wanted to see one game, and then I stuck around for the whole show.
Cool. All right, that's great. I think it is very exciting, and I think it gets even more exciting when we've got strong grandmasters participating. So thank you for being here and making this especially exciting for our viewers today. I'll go quickly over the rules, which you already know. So apologies, you can space out for a second if you like. There's always be somebody new here. So the Gauntlet, for those of you who don't know, is a show where a contestant comes on and takes on three different players from the chat of increasing strength level. First an 800 to 1200 opponent, then a 1200 to 1600, and then finally a 1600 to 2000 opponent. Now, if that were all, it would be pretty easy for our invited masters. And quite a boring show. But what makes it special and unique is this list of handicaps over here. The purpose of the Grandmaster is not just to win the three games, but to take on as many handicaps as possible while still winning the game in order to score the maximum number of points. And you can also see above us the leaderboard. Sorry. I'll stop that. You can also see above us this leaderboard with the scores of those who've gone before, and that gives you some sense of what might be possible as far as how many points one can score and at what pace one must score those points to end up with a high score. You see only one player who's topped 1,000 points per round in 2 rounds and ended up with a score nearly at 3,000, and a few players who were able to score near 2,000 by scoring about 500 in the second or third rounds. As far as the scoring, you can't just take every single handicap. Well, you can. I mean, the contestant chooses how many handicaps they take on. But in theory, it's not necessarily a great strategy to take on every single handicap, because those that you violate, you will lose points for. So if you took on all 15 handicaps and you played a great game and you won and you made 9 of those handicaps and failed 6, you would probably end up with a score of around 200 because you would have so many minus points. So the contestants in general, I think, although who knows what strategies are out there, so far we've seen the contestants trying to take as many handicaps as they think they can successfully take and score all those points. And the scoring is pretty clear. You know, if you take 3-minute time odds twice, you get 200 points and only 4 out of 10 minutes for the game, while your opponent still has 10 minutes. If you can't move the king and you succeed in winning the game without moving your king, that's 250 points, etc., etc. It all gets tallied up down here in the total. And that happens 3 rounds in a row against tougher opponents. So we now invite folks to come and offer themselves as opponents for Georg. We need you to play your best to make it challenging for him. And yeah, we're looking first of all for round 1 for a player between 800 and 1200. Chess.com rapid rating. The game will be 10 minutes plus 2-second increment. So we need an 800 to 1200 for the first round, please. And while we wait for some people to ask for their chance to play with the Grandmaster, let me just quickly tell you guys about the prizes. As you can see over there, it says that the prize for the preseason that we have raised is $957 to be divided 50, 30, 20 among the top 3 players. Today is the last episode of the preseason. There will be a 2-week gap, and then season 1 will start again. Today, we are starting to raise funds for the first time for the prize fund for the first regular season. And so you can see an empty gray bar above me. Any money donated during this show today will go to that prize which people will be eligible for starting in 2 weeks when the regular season starts. And during the regular season, anytime somebody gets to the top of the leaderboard, they will automatically clear out 80% of that jackpot prize fund, and then 20% will remain and get added to with donations throughout the next period. And as that prize grows, the incentive to come on will grow, and then anybody who shows up and hits the top of the leaderboard gets to clear it out. Additionally, every week in the regular season, if you score more points than the person the week before you, you get $200. Just flat, just for beating the person before you. Georg will not only be rounding out our leaderboard from the preseason, he will also be the score that someone needs to beat in round 1 of the regular season if they want to get those $200. All right, we've got Linear Stork waiting to play the first round. Georg, I have to ask you, put you on the spot with an important question we ask all the contestants. Would you rather win whatever money you win today, plus an appearance fee of $50, or would you rather carry that money over into the regular season and be guaranteed a re-invite during our regular season, this season 1?
I told you 5 minutes ago, it's such a pleasure since I'm doing nothing for 1 year to just talk to you.
Right.
But I cannot pass up on the opportunity to talk to you again.
You would rather, oh my goodness. So an hour of playing chess and talking to me for a few minutes is better than potentially hundreds of dollars that you could win right here.
Exactly.
I'm beyond flattered. Too sweet, too sweet. Well, he's a great chess player and a great person and a great friend. Georg Meier's first opponent is ready for him. That is Linear Stork. Linear Stork, is your chess.com username also Linear Stork? Also, do we have any German fans in the chat today? Flachspieler? I've always thought you were German. Linear Stork is Linear Stork. Na sicher, wir haben Deutsche hier. Super. All right. Are you guys hoping that Georg can be the first person to cross 3,000 in this contest?
Don't hear anyone cheering.
We've got one guy waving French flags. I think he's confused.
Ça va?
Ça va avec toi?
Vive la France.
Vive la France. Les Français peuvent également se mettre en position de fan de Georg. Okay. So, Georg Meier will have white against Linear Stork. During the game, Georg won't hear what we're saying, so he won't be distracted by it. But we will be able to hear him. And Georg, let us now proceed to choosing your handicaps. Your opponent is rated 1120 in rapid
That's pretty strong for first round, yeah?
Pretty strong for the first round, yeah. Originally, the rating range was 500 to 1,000. And then you could really, you could hope you get paired with a 600 and just throw everything at them. But 800 to 1,200, it's actually, we already start with somebody who, reasonably knows the rules of the game, isn't going to hang their queen, so.
Okay, now I have to remember my 5-course menu or what it
Absolutely.
was. 6 course. That's
Six
already
course
in the
menu.
restaurant. When you have 3 courses, you barely remember. So let's see. I take 2 times 3-minute odds. No castling.
No castling. Oh, so far, just in a row, everything on the menu.
Yeah, no promotion.
No promotion.
Pawns only move 1. No en passant. Knights can't touch rim.
Oh, my mouse is right there. Perfect.
And play blindfolds. If I didn't forget anyone, I should add up to 1,150. That was my plan.
1,150.
Yeah.
That is exactly right. He planned it. He can not only play chess, he can add up points. Very promising. 2 times 3-minute time odds. No castling. No promotion. Pawns only move 1. No en passant. Blindfold. 7-course menu. And knights can't touch rim. For anybody out there who might be interested in the details on these rules, because I think Georg has done his research and knows what he's talking about, so he doesn't need the clarifications. But for anyone out there, Georg's clock will show 10 minutes like his opponent's, but he only has 4 minutes. So if his clock ever goes down below 6:00, he loses the game, and that's the only handicap where it's over. You lose the game, you resign, you get 0 points, we move on to round 2. Any other handicap, like let's say he castles, we'll just put minus 125 points if he castles, right? And you could see that if he achieved everything else, he would play for 900 points then instead of 1150. And for the rule about knights can't touch rim, that's the A file and the H file. You are allowed to go to the 8th rank and, of course, start on the 1st rank and use all the ranks. Anything else that might be confusing to people? No, that should be pretty clear. All right. Great. Well, Linear Stork is ready. Georg's ready. I hope everybody watching is ready. Let me try and start the game. And if I succeed, I will then mute myself and we'll go. If there's a problem, we'll fix it.
Yeah, all right.
Yep, they're off, folks. And I will mute myself for Georg's benefit, just on Zoom. And he starts with a pawn moving 1 space. All right, he's thought it through. Let's go, Georg. What can you do? Come on, people, make some noise for Georg. Not that he wants to hear you. I mean, he's got to concentrate, but whew, let's see what he can do. You guys want to make some noise for the board? All right, I'll show you the board. There's the board. Here are the handicaps he has chosen on this list right here. I will perhaps hide the donation bar for a second so you guys can see. Knights can't touch the rim there. Or just make the donation bar a little bit smaller, perhaps. All right, I will comment in like 2 seconds here. Just got to get this into position. Okay. How's that? Can we see everything? The board, the handicaps, the the preseason prize fund at 957. The prize fund for the regular season already $15 raised thanks to whoever contributed that. Let's get into the game. Pawns have only moved once so far, but not Linear Stork. Linear Stork is taking full advantage of pawns moving 2 squares, taking all the space on the board. Poor Georg is already squished against the side. Squished against the side, and here goes his king. Okay, he's successfully not castled. We will already highlight that in green. That was successful. He's still got to win the game. That's always the thing. You can meet all the handicaps, but you do have to win that game. And how's he doing on time? He's used only 20 seconds out of his 4 minutes. That is quite acceptable. That is quite acceptable. No worries there just yet. It's his opponent's turn, but he's thinking. All right, no en passant, blindfold. Knights can't touch rim. One of the knights is gone. No promotion. He's got to win it in the middle game. All right, and what do we think of this position? Well, of course, black's position is pretty good. But I would not favor black's bishop for knight trade. That helped Georg a little bit because Georg's knights were slightly hampered by not being able to use the sides of the board. If you're the player with the material disadvantage, effectively, right? If you're the person with the handicaps, you're happy to trade your knights for the opponent's bishops or knights in general, I think, and leave yourself with your good pieces, you know, your bishops, your queens, your rooks that can move normally. Why he didn't go for the Bong Cloud? It would have been 25 points more than no castling, and he decided that it would hurt his position more than those extra 25 points potentially were worth. All right, and Linear Stork continues the plan of taking all the space. You know, Georg might be tempted to try and play a move like c4 or a4, striking at the opponent's weak light squares to release his bishop. Opponent has no opposing light squared bishop to cover those squares, but he has to restrain himself and inch forward, right? Like he did here, a3. I'm sure he wanted to play a4, but he took his time. We'll see if he follows up with a4 now or feels like he needs to improve one of these pieces first. And what are the bets like right now? 8-1. People think that Georg is going to be able to score 1,150 points in the first round, which, by the way, would tie Ray Robson for the biggest first round yet in Gauntlet history, and along with Ray, be the only player to score over 1,000 points. Okay, there it was. A4 came in. The pawn moves to not develop this rook. And now Georg's getting very, very close to complete light square domination. There's only one pawn left on d5 that's really holding black's light squares together. e4 would crack the light squares, but after black plays d4, the bishop would be blocked. So I don't know if Georg's going to go for e4. Oh, I noticed Georg just spent 30 seconds each on his last two moves. That was a real slowdown over this a-pawn march. Does he look at all concerned? Not really. Not yet. Okay, so he doesn't want to play e4 and block his own bishop. He's on a gradual mission to bring the c-pawn to c4 as well, I think, folks. And you can see how methodical the approach is to gain this upper hand on the light squares. If I were black, I would get this rook off of the light squares. I would be quite afraid, probably put it on d8 to fight for d5 and d3. Linear Stork takes it off a8. That's a good move already. I'm sure Georg's not thrilled to be seeing good moves from Linear Stork so far, but he'll hang in there and do his best. All right, and we get a pawn trade opening up Linear Stork's rook, which has first access to the b file. That's quite a good choice for black, I think, and not obvious. A lot of people would want to maintain their space advantage. But Georg was probably hoping to slip by this b pawn and just make the battle on the central d file and this long diagonal. So pawn takes is clever from Linear Stork. And also you notice Georg's rooks aren't yet connected, and this bishop doesn't have the space to go to a good square. That's something that happens when you can't move your pawns 2 squares at a time. You get a space disadvantage, then your pieces are a little cramped. I mean, I say no good square. It probably has a decent square on a3 now, but we'll see. Georg has 2 minutes and 26 seconds left to make this all work out. Oh, now the prediction's getting closer. Now it's only 3-2. A balanced... Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, I would say it's going to be a close call. I would say it's probably close to 50-50. I would maybe give a slight edge to Georg, exactly like the overall prediction at the moment. But 8-1 was like ludicrous because you guys, to score all these points with all these handicaps is very difficult. One of the big ones for Georg is just going to be the amount of time he has while playing blindfolded. You know? Okay, there comes the bishop to the good square. You know, he just has to keep track of everything all the way to the end. The other really big one right now is no promotion, right? Not being able to promote is going to hurt. Okay, so now he's got to think if it's time for a c4 or d4 kind of move. If he just plays rook b1, Stork is going to double on the b file, trade all those rooks. As you head towards an endgame, it gets harder and harder for Georg to win without promotion, right? So Georg, I believe, needs to make an advantage in the middle game. He can't just go into the end game like approximately equal. That said, maybe I'm wrong. He goes for potentially rook trades. Oh, Dor with an interesting suggestion from the chat of maybe g4, g5. Could be a middle game idea that mixes things up. By kicking this knight, it would increase white's control over light squares. It would also just make the game crazier and riskier. Now, Georg's normal style in normal chess, when he's not playing super blitz blindfold without promotions, his normal style is to play solidly and correctly in the opening, play great positional moves, and eventually win an endgame. So his normal style would be indeed to trade all the rooks here, get like a queen to b5 or like a rook to b5 after a couple trades, start to pressure the c5 pawn or something. But the question is, how many trades can he afford to have like an advantage that he can convert without queening a pawn, right? Because if you just win one pawn and trade a bunch of pieces, I mean, you can't win without promoting. Chaim points out that Georg is not only a strong GM, but he has come and watched the show more than once, including at least one full episode, so he knows what he's doing, says Chaim, which is reasonable. I would say a big question is, has he actually practiced at all, right? Because Lafong, who came in third place so far, definitely practiced before coming on. He played this exact format against players in the exact rating ranges, and he went from scoring, like 1,000 to 2,000 in like a day or two of practice. And myself, I went from scoring, 1,000 to 2,000 with some practice. I've even scored 3,000 in practice runs, but not on the official. When I was on the official show as a contestant, I totally choked repeatedly. Or, I don't know if it's choking if I was so chilled out that I forgot the handicaps. But, didn't make the possible score. All right, the game's laying out exactly as I was saying Georg would normally lay it out in a classical game, right? He's allowed the trays to slowly get into the weak square. From here, he can put pressure against black's pawns. I mean, if this were a classical game, we would say that the Grandmaster playing white is gradually outplaying quite a decent opponent as black. Linear Stork has shown no noobishness at all so far, despite being the first round opponent who's supposed to make a mistake here or there. A mistake would be fair. But so far, as Kostya says, this could just go down as just, a beautiful chess game. But I don't know if it's enough so far. I would say I'm still sort of on the 50-50 fence about Georg winning this game. It is also crazy, to think that this beautiful picture here. Oh, and now he's got to put it together and calculate blindfold for a moment here, because now it's intense, right? Okay, he didn't have to think that long. Oh la la. So now he knows his knight's hanging, so he doesn't grab on c6. Grabbing on c6 and allowing queen d2 would have been really bad for him. Now there's only one move for Stork to save the knight on c6. Hopefully a lot of you in chat can find a good defensive move here. Stork's already found it. And now the knight can run away somewhere. Does Georg have enough? He's going to pluck a second pawn for sure. Knight g4 check. Georg's like, is that checkmate or is my pawn on h3? No, Georg did not hesitate. He's playing quite quickly here. He's playing quite quickly, and that looks like a moment of desperation from Linear Stork. Had Stork just retreated the knight on c6 at this point to e7 and coughed up a second pawn, I would have still been left wondering, without promotion, is a 2-pawn advantage something that Georg, how's he planning to turn that into a win? But desperation comes in here. Linear Stork drops 2 pieces as far as I can see. Georg decides on it too with 1 minute and 20 seconds left to finish this out. And now with the 2-piece advantage, for sure Georg Meier can give a checkmate with 2 minor pieces. And here he's going to go probably trade queens even with queen e4. Look at the principled play. f5. Georg knows where everything is, right? He's going to trade that queen. He's got to find the queen on g4, yep. And now he can just mop up and do a bishop and knight checkmate. Well, you guys get to see the bishop and knight checkmate. That's always fun. Everybody likes to see that. And now I would say the prediction is pretty much guaranteed that Georg can win this eventually. Let's see. His pawns have only moved 1, but he still has 1. He could move 2 spaces if he forgets. He's still got a knight that can touch the rim. So none of these handicaps have been 100% successfully met yet. We'll keep waiting around. h4. Take it. Now he takes g4. All right, now he just has to remember not to play f2 to f4. f3 is played. He is on top of what he's got to do here. Pawns only move 1. Is now going to be in green. And also, I think en passant is now impossible, right? There's no way he could take that a5 pawn en passant. So he's already scoring up some points here. Suppose the pawns can help him take some squares, make the bishop and knight mate even easier, huh? Wow. This is crushing. I would bet like 19 to 1 on Georg at this point, even blindfolded. This is like a 95% win chance. If you only had like 20 or 30 seconds, I wouldn't be so sure, because, you know, you could lose track of where one piece is and need like a moment to collect yourself, need to make a random move just to find one of your pieces. But I don't think that's going to be the case here. Look at him using the pawns to cover the opposite color square as the bishop. Right? And the knight as well, covering the opposite squares as the bishop. That's basically perfect for how one does this. He's allowed to checkmate with the pawn on e7 as long as he doesn't, you know, take the king there. E7 might be a danger because of king e8 and stalemate. So maybe king d6 here would be good. King to one of these 6th rank squares, I predict. He's got a minute left, so he's still in good shape. E7 would be a draw, so that would be very bad. Could waste a tempo with the bishop. Oh, wow. Moving in and taking squares with the pawns. Lots of squares with the pawns. He's got checkmate! And that is it, folks. Georg Meier takes the first game.
That was quite a tough game. Our opponent played very well for quite a while.
Yes. Yes. Until knight g4, I didn't know exactly how you were going to win with the extra pawn or two. But now we'll never know.
I made sure that I kept enough pieces so that I could mate, and the plan was that the pawns are never going to promote, but they're going to take up the squares for the king.
Have you ever practiced that, checkmating with the pawns but not promoting them?
No, but you know, I had to stop myself a couple of times from moving a pawn 2 squares. You know, like I wanted to go a4, so I went a3 and then a4.
Yeah. And then c3 to then maybe go c4.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. That was excellent. That's the highest, tied with Ray. As you know, I think you've done your math very carefully. That's the highest score we've had in the first round ever on the Gauntlet, 1150. Excellent start. And now we need a 1200 to 1600 opponent. Who is up next? Who is up next? Give me a couple names in chat. And I will, if possible, pick somebody who hasn't been in here before too many times. 1750 is not okay. No. How is 1750 between 12 and 1600? 1750 is between 1600 and 2000. It's okay for round 3. You did give him a hard time, Linear Stork. It was quite a tough game.
Yeah,
all right.
Eventually, I got worried about my clock because I just like to think. And every time I have a think, I start to have a mini panic attack when I look at my clock again.
Yeah. Yeah, you played A3 in 30 seconds, but then thought another 30 seconds on A4. And I was like, All right. All right. Well, we have Moose. We have Telling Moose is going to be your second round opponent. And Telling Moose, you've got a 10 on your name in Twitch, but on chess.com, do you have a number, or is it just Telling Moose? You get to play a stork, then a moose. I'll try and find you like a cow for round 3.
My favorite animal is the orangutan. So
the orangutan. All right.
Too.
We'll find you an orangutan, or at least somebody who plays b4 on the first move. Telling Moose says ZMEEEEE. What? What does that mean for your username on chess.com? All right. You can start picking from the handicaps, I guess, while he's giving me his username. So I'll bring the menu back up.
So we don't know how strong he is yet, or do we?
I will tell you. I do know Telling Moose is rated 1320. in chess.com
So,
Rapid Chess. He will have white. And let me clear the menu, and you can choose a new.
yeah, I have to clear my one fear I developed in the first game, so I will take one 3-minute handicap.
3 minutes, yeah.
So I can meditate over a couple more moves without getting a heart attack.
Excellent. Couple more moves without heart attack.
So I actually want to take the same stuff and everything else. So what was it?
Everything else the same. Oh my goodness. All right. I've got it. No castling. No promotion. Pawns only move one. No en passant. Knights can't touch the rim. And blindfold. And so that would be for 1,050 points.
Yeah, sounds good. So I promised that for the third round I'll change my handicaps a bit.
All right, third round you'll change handicaps unless something changes your plans. All right, it is time to set this up. I'll get the command right here, folks. You can see the 1,050 points. I'm going to take this down so that you'll be able to see the board. Telling Moose, Georg Meier, 10-2. You, for everybody who's going to be watching the clocks, that means Georg is allowed to get down to 3-0-0. If he falls below that, he loses the game. So he has 7 minutes of think time, even though it'll show 10-2 for each of them. All right. I think everything's set. Ready, Moose? Ready, Georg?
Yes.
Ready, fans? Here we go. Round 2. And they are off. The Moose is loose. And everybody, with one axe thrown and one opponent down, let's throw a little money in the pot for Georg, right? Throw a little donation into the prize fund. Yes? Now's the time. Bits I will have to tally manually after the show. But all your any donations during the show go into the prize fund for the Gauntlet. Regular season prize fund now being built up. He only took 1 3-minute of time odds this time. 1 times 3 minutes. I will bring up his chosen handicap so you all can see it now. 1 times 3 minutes odds. No castling, no promotion. They're taking a lot of time on their first moves here. All right, there we go. All the other handicaps you guys might be familiar with now because he used them last time. So all he needed was a little more time to meditate, he said, right? That's all he needs. Just some time to meditate and he will be good. Let's see if this bishop's going to trade itself on e7 again, even though Moose was listening when I criticized that one move from Stork mildly last time. No, he keeps his bishop, drops it back. Georg bringing out pretty much a full hippo at the moment. Headed towards a full hippo against the Moose. Thank you, Mitch. Your 35 cents were noted. We appreciate you. We've got a prediction up, folks. If you think that Georg will score all the points, what? And it's 9-1 again that he will. You realize his opponent is stronger this round. Nobody, and I mean nobody, not nobody other than Ray Robson. I mean nobody has ever scored 1,050 points in round 2. Hasn't happened. All right, he's got the full hippo, right? The hippo's complete. You guys may know the hippo better than I do. So you'll have to tell me if this is truly the hippo or not. But it looks like the hippo to me. He's got 2 pawns left to score the points for not moving any pawns 2 squares, though I don't recommend he play f6 or c6 here, blocking in his bishops. All right, knight h4. I think Moose has aggressive intent. Let me give Georg his first green for not castling. Always nice to check something off the list, the mental list of things you don't have to keep track of anymore. Welcome, awesome. You are very welcome here. Check this out. We've got a grandmaster playing against a Moose right now. Knight just hops back to f3. How's Georg doing on time? He's used 30 seconds. Plenty of time left for meditation here. He is a master of the Rubinstein French. You remember absolutely correctly, T-Drev. That is a huge specialty of Georg's. Nice, awesome. I hope it was an awesome game we played. So this knight went to c6, I believe, to try and prevent this f4 move. By attacking this, he wanted to force moves back. And now his knight's just sitting here, but really all he wanted to do was he wanted to avoid this aggression. He wasn't ready for it yet, right? Black needs some more organization. Okay, so here we are. Queen finds a square on e7. That's one less square for this knight. If d5 comes in, it'll give the knight a square on e5, though. So the knight is okay for now, but it is blocking the bishop. Let's just check in on the prediction, because that prediction was insane. Now it is 2-1. All right. Basically, you guys were really impressed by his first round performance. I think that his odds are probably around 45% for this round. I just see one little asterisk. Chaim, what are you trying to tell me? Oh, who plays round 3? Not decided yet. Not decided yet. We have not yet picked the round 3 opponent for Georg. We've got a lot of eager people waiting to play Georg. I feel like in the gauntlet every time, round 1, there's like, 2 people who want to play the GM. Round 2, there's like 5, and round 3, there's like 20. The 1800 and 1900 crowd really values their chance to play against an IM or a GM. Always underselling them a little bit. You guys know pots or chess better than I do, and you know that at some point you will fold. Okay, we'll see. There goes one knight. You agree with Seth. I mean, I think it's very close to 50-50, and the prediction is more than 2-1. I mean, whoops, sorry, that's just me. That's just me clicking on the board. I mean, I've never seen anybody score this many points, so I know it's difficult. And, if Moose doesn't hang any pieces, I don't know how Georg's going to do it, so we'll find out. I mean, I think everything in his strategy would make sense if he just had promotion available. I would bet on him for sure, actually. If he were allowed to promote, he'd be going for only 950 instead of 1050, but I would bet like 66-70% on Georg for sure, just if he had promotion available. I'm just not sure how he wins the game if Moose doesn't hang a piece. And there's a pretty good chance that Moose won't hang a piece. We'll see. We'll see. But I will gradually learn the odds better as I watch more episodes of this and give you guys more accurate predictions. And I will say this. If you are going for some number of points as the contestant, and I think that when I see the selections on the handicap, if I think the contestant has like an 80% chance of winning, it means they didn't take enough handicaps, right, to maximize their score. If I think they've got an 80% chance, they're just not quite gambling enough, right? I mean, it should be somewhere in that 60-70% range, I think, if you really want to try and maximize out your points. I mean, I don't know for sure. I haven't run a lot of math on it yet, but that's just kind of like a math feeling. A math feeling. And Michiko thinks that that Moose will not hang a piece here. How's Georg doing? Does he look like it's tough? He's not even ahead on the clock, which means he's still behind 3 minutes on the clock. So he's barely keeping pace in terms of speed, and he's just spent a lot of time on these last couple moves. The choice to trade the knight, the choice to close up the center. I guess he's got a great plan of a gradual, King's Indian attack now, right? So I think it's a good choice to go for this. He's forcing Moose to play something aggressive, and Moose is up to it. Moose does not just sit around. Sometimes you can outplay a weaker player. I mean, I've done this occasionally, I know what it is to be a master. Sometimes you can outplay a lower rated player by creating a position that requires action from both players. And a certain style of player, just sort of sitting there solidly, not hanging anything, not going for anything, you can gradually build up a winning position. If you create a position where they need to attack you on the queen side while you attack them on the king side. So I think Georg looked for a moment there like he was having a slightly tough time. Mostly keeping his eyes open, not checking the board in his head, just sort of like using the empty board as his reference point here. Now he's got to think about queen takes rook. I suppose he could also go for queen d4 check, trade queens, and win rook for bishop, right? Go to an endgame that way. Queen d4, trade queens. Whether white takes or moves the king, right? He can always trade queens and have time to take the exchange. And Georg goes for it. He says, that's enough for me. It's a very, very good bishop he's giving for that rook. So not an easy choice, but he also didn't want to spend 10 minutes making a choice. He had to sort of decide how he felt about it. I think that to try and beat Ray's score is going to require Georg to stay absolutely laser focused all the way through. Even if he makes every point this round, he'd only be 50 points ahead going to the last round. That means, he's got to go for basically as many points as Ray did in round 3 and not blunder anything. And win the game and, take all the handicaps, not miss a single one of them. So it's going to be intense to the end, I think. He's got no promotion with only an exchange up. I think it's still a lot of work here. We'll see how he does it. He's still got 2 pawns. He could accidentally move 2 squares. He's still got a knight that could go to the edge of the board. Normally here, you would trade your bishop in normal classical chess. And Georg has mostly played normal classical chess moves. He's blindfolded, but we're looking at this and he's pretty much played the kind of moves we would predict. Normally you would trade this bishop to break up the bishop pair and use your knight because it can hop into c4. Once you've done that in that weak square, very versatile for maneuvering around here and trying to attack these weaknesses. And breaking up the bishop pair makes it easier for you. But here he's got to think his knight's not even allowed to take the pawn on a3. His knight is the hampered piece. Maybe he'd like to keep his bishop, which is long-term better in endgames. So he brings the king over, covers some squares here, maybe planning f6, f5 to break open the rooks. For all of you out there who want to learn something and don't already know this yet, maybe you're 1200, not 2200. If you have an exchange up, you need a fully open file somewhere to show that advantage. Right now, there's only semi-open files, right? Files where one side is open, but the other side has a pawn. If you want to show that you have an advantage in classical chess with an extra exchange, you need to fully open a file and use that. How much time does Georg have here? 2.5 minutes left, folks. If he gets down to 3 minutes, he just loses the game. So he's going for f6, f5. Moose might have even seen it coming because h3 could be a precursor to g4. And I think Georg would not be thrilled to see g4 here because he'd have to come up with another plan which could cost him some more time. Okay, knight retreats. Georg should be happy to see that. Moose is maybe planning to play c4, which is not a problem for Georg's plans. Here comes f6, f5. Kind of crazy that you can predict his moves in blindfold blitz. That means basically, without looking at the board, while all stressed out, he's still just playing normal grandmaster chess. Yeah, this is what I would do if I were playing a 6-hour game with Magnus Carlsen, like he's done several times. Gothmog would have maybe played f5 in one move. Yeah, but he played f6, f5. He's only got one pawn left that could derail him. But he's not really showing any weakness as far as keeping track of the many handicaps he's got on at one time. He's looking a little intense here. 2 minutes and 26 seconds. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work left. That's right, Chaim. I'm not a GM, but I have some idea what it looks like. Skaklo Falakyak Yafter, proud of telling Moose for playing a great game against a GM. We do also want all of you guys to show your best chess when you go up against the contestants, for sure. We're never really rooting against you guys. Ooh, a rook comes off the board. That's good technique from Georg. Good normal technique, right? Like the kind of technique you would expect in a slow classical game. He still has to find a way to win this without a pawn promotion. I think this game will get to see something interesting in that way. Did I say something rude, Charlie? I'm not trying to be rude towards anybody. I have a great appreciation for the contestants and the dojo members who go up against them. Oh, oh. It's true. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't say GM under my on my tag here. I'm not trying to pretend to be a GM or anything. Okay, now Georg can trade, and the last rook gets into the second rank. Basically, the favorite home of a rook. Once it gets in there, it's playing in the mud, you know? The rook's just like, yes, feed me, feed me. Ooh, can he pick up a knight here? Rook check and rook takes knight? That would be enough to win the game. I think he finally missed something, guys. Or did I miss it? I mean, he's a GM. But did blindfold finally cost him one little detail? Would Rook E1 have won that knight? This is your tactical puzzle for today, everybody. You got to always practice your tactics. Rook E1 was GG, you guys think? All right. So he took the pawn, and the game goes on a bit more. You see that rook, though, it's just stuffing its face. Like, it got into the second rank, and all it could think was, like, pawns, right? I mean, look at that rook. It's just... Scarf, 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 scarf. Oh, my God. How many pawns in a row is this rook taking? Because D5 is a goner, too. If Georg is still on top of it all and where everything is. 4 minutes and 37 seconds. Knight hits him. He's got rook D4, but he comes up with something else. I think he's just going to play A5 with tempo. I think he knows that his pawn is here. Rook D4 might have again shortened the game. Maybe. Oh, he can't queen the pawn, so what's the point of A5? Hang on, what is the plan here? What is the plan? He's got a lot of pawns. Moose might know to keep his king far away from the queen side. If you try to stop these pawns coming down, they'll checkmate you. Okay, so now does he take the knight or the bishop? It's a tough choice. But he doesn't have a lot of time to make it. Okay, happy not to see bishop d8 coming after this pawn. Gets another pawn. Maybe h5 to lock the king in on that side of the board. Bring his king around like towards f2 and see if he can checkmate this king while it's on the side of the board with the rook against the bishop. It may be possible. I don't know for sure. Oh, he moved the pawn 2 spaces, folks, didn't he? Didn't he just move the pawn 2 spaces? Oh! And Georg Meier scores his first red, my friends. Sadly and unnecessarily. We'll put the knights in green since that has been succeeded. I thought his plan was just to bring the king over there. I don't even know why he's moving those pawns. Oh. Oh. Prediction result is no. Everybody who said I undersold or whatever. Now you weren't all necessarily right, huh? Sorry about your gold as well. Princess of the Dawn and only 4 others just made like a killing though. They just took your free lessons from you. Linear Stork doesn't gamble anymore. It just saves the gold. Oh man. All right. So how does black break through this square here? Georg's got a minute and a half to figure out some way. I guess you could run the bishop out of squares on this short diagonal to defend g3 and win that pawn, right? I mean, put the king on f3. Is there any sign that Georg knows that he moved the pawn 2 squares? I don't think so. I didn't see him, like, slap his head or anything. I had a moment, like, where I suddenly realized that, like, 5 to 10 moves before I'd violated 2 of my handicaps, and I realized both at once. That was just... It's better not to realize, probably. Just keep your head on. Wait, what's happening? Why isn't it showing me the position? Oh, Jesus. The board got lagged out. We got it back just in time to get the checkmate at least. All right. We'll give Georg an axe throw for that. Very
How
nice,
do you
Georg.
like? Thanks. How do you like my hippopotamus, or what is it called in English?
The hippopotamus is very nice. It's very. I mean, that one was the full, absolute hippopotamus. Defeated the
Yeah.
moose with it.
Once I picked my handicaps, I realized that this is the called for setup.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because
this is.
I put all my pawns, almost all of them, one square ahead, so I will never, violate the rule of moving them two squares at once. And just with the F and C pawn, I need to be careful.
Right.
Again, I was very close to playing F7 and 5 at some point.
Although
And then I went
Georg,
F6 and then F5.
never say never, because I have a schlechte Nachricht for you.
Oh, I violated something?
The very last C pawn.
Oh, no.
You moved twice to
Yeah,
C5 at some point for no reason when you had everything in the bag.
Yeah, that happens. Okay.
Yeah.
So how much does that cost?
That costs minus 100 instead of plus 100.
Okay.
So your round 2 is 850 points, and your current place on the leaderboard total is you have 2,000 points.
Mm.
You need 75 or 100 points to clear second place, and you need 900 points to tie Ray for first place.
Okay, so that makes it really interesting that I messed up there with C5, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, now I need to look at the menu and come up with a new plan.
You can have a look at the menu and start thinking. I will take volunteers for round 3 while you do. Who is here for round 3? Who is here? I know Chaim had volunteered. Man of Squares is volunteering. Dubious Savant, I don't think has played on the show before. Max Mlinek. Pro Pieshka, you're a little bit too pro for us. It's 1,600 to 2,000. Mitch Fabian is 9 points below 2,000, but that feels pretty rough. Mitch is a great player. CJ Stoop, I don't think you've played in here in the gauntlet before. I'll take you, CJ Stoop. What's your chess.com username? Oh yeah, we'll maybe wait one more minute to see if there are any orangutans in chat before we give it to CJ Stoop. All right, good question, T-Drev. I'll give it to him right after his third round so that we don't distract him. Do we have any animals here? Any other animals? We could complete a full animal episode. 1800 identifies as an orangutan. We've got a baboon. Baboon, tell me your ratings between 1,600 and 2,000. But you're 1,500. Ah, oh, so close, a baboon. So close. We've got a donkey whose rating is wrong as well. A tank is not a metal animal. I got your name, CJ. Yeah, thank you very much for sending it twice, just in case. That's helpful. All right. Are you ready, Georg, to order?
Yeah, so...
Möchtest du bestellen, geehrter Herr?
Who's my opponent in the end?
Okay, your opponent is CJ Stoop 1997. Well, their chess.com username is going to be something about like a Patzerberg, like a mountain of Patzerishness, Patzerberg, yeah. And rating at 1850 rapid, I believe. We can go.
Yeah, because obviously I had a plan which did not include moving the C pawn to squares.
Yeah.
So to beat Ray, I must score more than 900 points now, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that was the second premise of my plan, so I'll still try to stick to it. I will play blindfold, of course.
Okay.
Uh, Pawns only move one. No en passant. Knights can't touch rim. And 2 times the 3-minute odds.
That would be 925 exactly.
So that's what I need. Yeah.
That's what you need.
Okay.
I'm confirming your math, although you probably didn't even need it. But it's good to know that I'm not getting the math wrong, at least. So you will. This would make it for what you need. Okay, so compared to before, he's going faster now again, but he is allowed to promote, so he doesn't have to find some weird checkmate with his last knight or rook or something. So no promotion is off. We've got still the pawns only move one and no en passant. And blindfold 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and we got rid of no castling.
Yeah, I got rid of no castle and of no promotion.
Okay. Perfect. All right, folks, we've got it all lined up. I am ready to set up the match. Any words for the crowd before you go into this final battle?
I'm just trying to wrap my head around my handicaps because since I was planning it all out, it's kind of like auto-suggestion. So I was already telling myself what every game is gonna look like.
Yeah.
Now I need to make sure that, I don't play the planned game 3, but the one that's actually ahead of me.
Yeah, you have to not follow the plan. That's going to be a new challenge. Good luck to you. I'm going to try to start the game here.
Yeah.
Yep, it's off. And here we go, folks. I'm going to show you the game as well. I'm going to show you the handicaps that Georg has chosen here. You can see them. 2 times 3-minute time odds. That means he only has 4 minutes out of these 10. He can get down to 6 minutes. Playing blindfolded, another hippo comes out. His pawns only move 1 square, which is very good for the hippo, where you get to move a lot of pawns to the 3rd rank, although it did still bite him last round. Still playing blindfold, and his knights still cannot touch the rim. All right, now what do you think, folks? This is the final game. If Georg can score all 925 points, everybody's betting on him again, he will top Ray Robson. He will not break 3,000, which maybe he had like an outside thought that he would. But he will reach 2925 points if he can do all of this. His opponent's going to give him such a difficult game. I'm really worried about Georg's time. I think he did not want to take that 2nd minute of time odds. I think he wanted to take his time, enjoy it, relax a little bit with the game. And now I think it's going to be very difficult for him. But you guys say I always over-under sell it or whatever. So let me think what I really think the odds are here. What are the odds now, in my opinion? I still feel like he's got a pretty close to 50-50 chance, even though he's going for 900 in round 3, which seems insane. I mean, the highest score so far in a round 3 game was 750 points by Ray Robson. So this is like quite a bit harder. Nobody other than Ray has even scored this many points in round 2 against a 1200 to 1600 rated opponent, much less against an 1850 with a bullet rating over 2000. So it's a massive amount of points, and yet I am still feeling like Georg can do it. I mean, he messed up that pawn thing last game, but unnecessarily. He was definitely in control of winning the game. He's never been in danger in any game. There's never been a game where you looked at the position and you thought like, oh, I don't think Georg can win this, right? It was always like, he had a 50 to 75% chance of like winning, I would feel like. Never was I worried for him. So I feel like this is probably still about 50-50. My biggest concern is the time. And there go 20 seconds. And we've got a real chess position again. He's a little bit delayed, but if his c2 pawn were on c4 for some reason, this would be a very, very classic Grand Prix attack against the Sicilian. So Georg is going to be familiar with this position. He doesn't have c4 and knight to d5 at his disposal, but he's seen the exact attack that White's throwing at him before, and he can figure how he wants to fight it. So I think it's pretty close to 50-50, probably, whether or not we will see the record of Ray broken today. And I would be so excited to see that, because everybody said nobody's going to touch Ray's record. But look, about 2/3 of you believe that Georg will. And a lot of you are probably just too scared to bet after losing your Dojo Gold last round. He is playing the hippopotamus every single round, right? Yeah, every single round. The full hippo round. All right, so he played d4 so that when he takes here, he would have like slowed Black's control of the fight in this direction. If bishop g4, knight g4, he has f3 available. But he is knowingly then sacking that pawn back on d4. So material's equal rather than being up a pawn. Knight c4, queen h5, knight b6, cb6. He wins a pawn. That's all Georg needs, I would say. He's won a pawn anyway. He's got everything he needs to win this game. What could stand in his way? The c2 or the h2 pawns, I don't think are going to be a big problem. Having just played f3, he's happy to trade the bishop that supposedly defends his king, because it's a garbage piece now. He's allowed to promote. What could stop him? Basically time. Time is what beats most of us eventually. g4. Oh, this might be the end of Chess Potterberg. Okay, I'm betting everything on Georg right now. Is the prediction still open? I've got no gold, but I'm telling you guys, the odds just went like 10 bazillion into Georg's favor right here. Because if the queen tries to keep this bishop defended, knight f5 like wins it. And you see his strongest opponent yet is the first one to just blow a piece in the opening, and that's because they were like fighting a more complicated position. They're trying to beat Georg. Sometimes, it gets you killed more when you try and play well and try and fight. This is definitely one of those cases. And when I was doing my like series of videos on how to win games as miniatures, how to try and win in 20 moves or less, there was a period with like opponents rated like 14 to 1600 where I was really struggling, and then we had like 1700 rated opponents and 1800 rated opponents, and a lot of them tried to beat me in the opening. They had that confidence, they had that chess knowledge. They came out and tried to skirmish with me and beat me, and then they just lost. And the percentage of miniatures actually like spiked for a moment when we hit those stronger players. And look at this. This queen is done. Even after g4 comes in, telling him like you're losing a piece, he loses the queen instead. That's it. Georg is grinning. He thinks he's got it. He can't believe that after like an hour of grueling battles against 12 and 1300 rated opponents, this 1800 is just going to give up their queen to him. But so it is. The knight can't touch the rim. Georg's like, no! The knight can't touch the rim.
Nice that I cannot take the queen.
Oh!
Just I realize it.
Dang. So that means Black didn't even have to sack a piece anymore, did they? I mean, they could have played any move here. They could have traded the bishop and then walked the queen through h6 to g6 or something. Oh my goodness. But they still gave Georg a piece. So Georg can still win this game for sure. He's got mate at 1, guys. He finds it.
Nice.
That's it.
Poof.
Folks, your new Gauntlet champion, the current leader. Let's call up the leaderboard, folks. 925 points in round 3. A staggering total. 29-25. Congratulations, Georg.
Thanks. You can imagine when I played knight f5, I had certain intentions.
We thought so too. I was just saying, like, it was so hard up until this round, and now he just collects the queen, it's over, he's won it. And then there was that moment where you're like, I can't take it. And somehow only from like seeing your expression, I realized that you couldn't take the queen. Whew.
Yeah, it's quite a fascinating challenge because, once I'm really in the game and focused, it's sometimes, my hand is taking over. I'm just want to play chess, and then I realize, oh, there are these handicaps.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to verify your score. No pawn move 2 steps. F3, G3, E3, D3, D4. A3, F3, C3. I just have to be very, very sure before. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. The pawn's only moved 1. En passant never happens. Blindfold, nice. Yeah, and you avoided knight takes queen. If you had like an extra total, like if you were going for like 200 points more than you needed or something, you could take the queen and be sure to win the game or something. But you needed like every single point you were going for there.
Yeah, the 200 points I already gave up. Yeah, those that I had to spare.
Yeah. Oh, man. Okay, tell us, was your original goal to score 29-25 or to try and break 3,000? Did you just want first place or did you want to crack that number?
Actually, I thought that if the first 2 games work out, then if I want to play it safe, I can go for 750 in the last one and beat Ray by 50 points. But I was going to decide that in the end,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. See how you're feeling, how the blindfold's going. Do you have much practice playing blindfold blitz?
I only played 2 games in preparation for this, and basically, first I realized that the colors of my squares are bad because you need some contrast to properly see the highlighting.
Yeah.
So once I got colors I was comfortable with, I played another game and simply hoped for the best.
Yeah. That's why I could never play blindfold as fast as like what I saw Ray do, is because it takes me like a few seconds to even figure out where my opponent's moved because my chessboard is blue and white and the highlight is blue.
Exactly, I had that too.
So if you change the color square to something else, does the highlight remain blue? And you can see the highlight?
It becomes some other highlight. You should try. I can tell you what setting I have.
All right. Maybe. Tell us what color to use.
Board colors, dark wood.
Dark wood. All right, let me try that. Save. I'm going to go to live chess. I'm just going to see a move highlight. Oh, it's like a mild yellow on wood.
Yeah.
You can see that one.
For me, that works better.
Oh, it's still tough. It's still tough. I need a better option for me if I ever want to do this. If I ever want to try and go at that speed. Oh, man. So, but you looked around to try and find something. It's not easy.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, congratulations. That was fantastic. Wonderful. Nice to have you here with us. Excited that we'll get to see you again. I think if you've only played 2 training games, that it's possible for you to score even more the next time you're on.
Yeah.
Yeah?
We have seen that I have some room for improvement also.
We saw like maybe a tiny smidge with that C pawn. That was very, very little. I feel like you got punished very hard for a very small...
Yeah, but that's what I meant. I was already on autopilot. I was just playing chess at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, so I mean, amazing and impressive as it was. By saying you can score more points, I'm not trying to say I'm not impressed, but in my experience, everybody gets better once they practice more. So if you've played 2 games and this is your first time doing 3 in a row like this, I have to assume you could get even more next time, and that means it is possible to break 3,000.
Yes, I'm ready for battle, that's for sure.
Okay, since this is the last episode of the preseason, I'm going to unveil the one major new rule that we will have in the regular season, and you can tell me, if it's a good or a bad rule or whatever. But we're going to have a rule where if the player hits 3,000 points, they automatically unlock a fourth round where they play against a player rated in the 2,200 range. So we're going to, and every week I'll pick that player in advance, so I'll have somebody standing by. And if somebody hits 3,000, they get to play that extra bonus round with crazy handicaps against a master.
That sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah. Would you be up for that kind of a challenge?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Could you beat me blindfolded with 1 minute on your clock?
That's kind of a tricky question on many levels. Yeah. Like you said, I mean, with practice, of course, would become much better, and the 2 second increment helps.
Yeah.
I mean, otherwise, of course, no way.
Otherwise, it seems pretty impossible.
Yeah.
People in the chat have been telling me that this Andrew Tang, Penguin Grandmaster, actually plays like something like 15 or 30 second chess. I forget what it was. Something insane. Less than a minute chess blindfolded. Somebody told me that.
Yeah, that sounds like a superhuman effort.
Yeah. That sounds like the kind of skill that like 2 people on the planet have or something, right?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be able to do it, and I would certainly not put in the many hours it would take me to kind of be able to do it.
I put in 10,000 hours to be a GM. I'm not putting in a second 10,000 hours just to be able to play Hyper Bullet blindfolded.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, in chat they're confirming it's 15 seconds. So 15 seconds. But how well he plays, who knows, right? I mean, maybe he would lose to a 1500 at that speed. Because the gauntlet does always require that you win your games.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Georg, thank you so much for being here and for coming on as a contestant. It's been a joy to see your performance today, and I'm gonna play over some of those games a second time actually, just to fully appreciate what your strategy was. See if I can ever make it work for myself. I will never top the leaderboard again, but I do enjoy testing out this show myself.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think you just hit on a great idea there. I mean, also for me, it's like an interesting challenge to, think about it, how to approach it, how to play the games. It's just fun.
Yeah. Actually, let me ask you 1 or 2 more questions if you don't mind. Do you have anywhere you
Sure.
need to be?
No, I'm in my bedroom, and
Yeah.
next thing I will do is just, move 1 or 2 meters over.
You'll move 1 square like your pawns.
Yeah.
Okay, so my last question or 2 would be this: do you have any sense, after what you've sort of thought about and testing this, of what the upper limit is? Like, what's the most points that you or any other super grandmaster could score in this format?
Well, about others I cannot speak, because as you could see, for me it's important to have my 4 minutes. So without a lot of practice, I would not go down to 1 minute like Ray did.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in my first games, I basically did almost the maximum I would be willing to do. I can perhaps add something, but it already becomes quite tough then.
Yeah. Yeah, your strategy that you used is pretty close to maximized.
Yeah. And okay, second game I was basically taking I was really in my comfort zone playing with 7 minutes. I could of course try to do this with 4, so I could again try to do 150. And then the question is, how far do I go on the third one? So you get a sense there. I mean, 150 is kind of what I feel at ease with. So we are 2,300, and then, so 3,400, something in this range should definitely be possible.
Mm-hmm.
on a good day.
Great. And out of all the players out there in the world who you have seen and who you know, who do you think might be the best in the world at this format? Who might come out of the whole first season with the highest score?
Um, well, I assume that you will not have the top 10 on the program, right? Because first you asked me who would be the best, and then you asked who would be coming out.
Assuming that we're able to invite everyone.
Okay.
I don't see a reason we couldn't get players from the top 10 onto this show eventually,
Yeah, right.
once they hear about it. I mean, they'll have the potential to earn $1,000 in an hour. That's not terrible.
Yeah, probably someone like Hikaru would be at is doing this on 1 minute.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then yeah, Magnus probably too. So again, it's always the same names
Okay.
somehow when you look at the top.
So the
I
kind
don't
of people we
see.
would guess who are top blitz players in the world.
Yeah,
Okay.
but when you do it on 1 minute, I think it's really tough not to violate the rules when you have a lot of handicaps.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's taking a little extra brain processing power to keep track of not putting your knight on h4 or not playing f2 to f4 or something.
Yeah,
It's slowing
exactly.
you down a little.
So yeah, that's why this to play with 1 minute is really very, very challenging. I think you need a good day not to make any mistake of this kind.
Yeah. All right. Well, vielen Dank, Georg. It was a great
Gern
pleasure.
geschehen.
Thank you so much for being on here. We look forward to your next appearance. And to everybody out there, I will remind you one last time before we raid. We've got the prize bar here, raising prizes raising the prize fund for the regular season at this point, which will start after a 2-week intermission. So if there's some particular super GM out there that you want to see, if you want to see a top 10 player on the show, all you have to do is give us, $1 into the prize fund, and 100 other people do the same, and it will grow, and somebody will show up looking for it. So that's my final pitch. Any donations you give will go into the prize fund. I will tally up lots of bits that were thrown in as well later and add them to that number, tally it manually. So thank you very much, everybody. And we will see you again soon here on ChessDojo.
Yeah, take care, everyone. Bye bye.